Thank you, Jars of Fart, for dropping a fart in chat. And already we have a great start to this video here, guys, as we look at previewing the map pool for Season 3. Hopefully, we think a little bit higher of these maps than that just there. These maps will be available for playtesting or exploration in custom games section of multiplayer today. Below are descriptions from the creators of the maps. Click on the images to see the detailed views. So for those who don't know, I had no idea. I was like, when does Season 3 actually start? I believe it is the 30th of September. So depending on where you are in the world, maybe a day later than that, maybe 31st. Are there 31 days in September? He says clicking, or maybe the 1st of October, since that 1st of October, 30th September, it's basically end of the month, start of next month. All right, so Jagannatha LE, the mapmaker Tim I says accelerator zones are placed in 4 strategic locations to allow players to quickly change paths. The layout was carefully constructed with the help of Twitch chat. Large rocks, full block paths between the accelerator zones. Another path outside a late game expansion is partially blocked by rocks. Is this a joke? The layout was carefully constructed with the help of Twitch chat? Is the fucking middle of the map like a maze with no exit then? Like... Or is it just shaped like a turd? Like what? Okay, we got to take a look at this, guys. It's, I mean, shaped with the friggin', you know, the beauty of Twitch chat. I can only imagine it's just shaped like a giant turd, right? Like that's all I can possibly imagine. So this is the map. Oh, wait, where do we spawn? It's top right, bottom left, surely. Yeah. Okay, so these are the 2 main base spawns. The fact that there's actually some green on the map and it's all not just concrete and cement tells me that maybe not all of our map makers have the aesthetic of those fucking people who are like, I prefer when it rains. I don't like sunlight. Rainbows make me sad. I personally, if I could design my room, it would just be a white walls, white, no furniture. And I'm like, oh God, can we stop having bare rock or cement maps? Can we get more trees and grass and shit? I don't mean to paint all map makers in a certain fucking light, but just saying, guys, more bushes, more green, make Pig happy. Make Pig happy. I like playing on beaches. I like playing on grassy fields and stuff. No more new repugnancies. Like new repugnancy had, remember it had Rufus the doggo, which was great. I was like, oh, it's got this adorable doggos on what was otherwise a trash heap. It was literally new repugnancy. It was literally a bunch of dogs who were strays living in a garbage dump. I was like, what the hell? Why is there only ever one nice feature on every map mixed with garbage or like really dry, shitty, concrete looking crap? Anyway, let's take a look. As always, first things first, we try to trace a line from base to base, usually natural to natural, I guess, to think about where the rush distance is. So I believe that this would be the most direct path to each other. And keep in mind, guys, boosty zone, boosty zone, boosty zone, me draw a circle, good, and boosty zone. So those are all boosty speed zones, the accelerator zones, which look like they're going to get a lot more play than Death Aura. Just because there are enough of them spread across multiple angles, I think we'll see a bit more use of those rather than the Death Aura ones, which is cool. Now, this is blocked by rocks. That's blocked by destructible rocks, and it's in a tall hedge. So you can break that. I'm not sure. It looks to me like it's two separate rocks, so you can open it up half at a time, but it might just be one. Either way, we'll have to see. So in terms of rush distance, looks kind of medium. You've got obviously high ground. Is all this cement area, and the green areas are low ground, right? So there are some real important high ground areas you can control and that sort of stuff. TVT especially, you get up on their middle high ground and you've just got massive control over the entire map. Let's just take a look at the expansion patterns now, shall we? So that's your natural, of course, and you can expand to your third in a straight line. Now, if you do that, that's quite a bit of space between. But let's think about what it opens you up to. You've got one big ramp there. You've got a small ramp there and a big ramp coming in from here. So I think you could kind of wall this off and stuff and be quite safe, but there's a lot of area in this area. Like, you know, this whole region, there's still enough area. And of course, you've got a big exposed edge in your main base. If you're thinking about the extreme edges as well as drops coming in from there that could kind of, you know, Liberators, drops, finding those edges, Nidus worms, that sort of stuff. Doesn't look like there's much dead space. So it looks like air harass. There is a spot to hide behind the natural and third, but it doesn't look like there's anything down here or anything behind the main. Oh, actually, I think maybe you can hide a unit in the very corner. Like, you know, you fly the BC or the Oracle and sit it there. But it's not going to be massive. It's not going to be one of those maps where you've got like free roam behind the base and the mutas and oracles just flying all over the place. I am wondering if siege tanks can shoot from up here onto that gas. They probably can. So you might see some creative marine tank pushes from there. I guess the other thing I'm thinking about is what about if I'm in a TVT, I'm the northern player, I'm attacking the southern player. If I can squeeze tanks there and then siege up right here, ooh, it's going to be quite hard for them to get around to get me. And I've got kind of natural protection with the minerals and gas there. So you're going to have to be careful with your production placement on this map. You're going to have to put it further over to the left or down here. I think this base has enough production. You just got to be careful. Don't build anything above or up and to the left of that barracks. Even the main wall off of your main will be exposed to tanks there. So any of those low ground tank pushes in TVT is going to be big. Let's kind of just think about this a little bit more in terms of what about, say, a big Zerg versus Terran, Zerg versus Protoss as you go up many, many bases. Okay, so where do you take your fourth? Well, if you take this corner fourth, there is only one path in. So this is going to be a big option. You're going to see cheesy douchebags, Rotterdam, Florencio, love these corner bases because, well, if you take that by surprise as like your third base without your opponent realizing, you're going to get enough time to fully wall it off. And by the time they come up and see it, it's fully walled. So people are going to need to like drop it or bust up with a lot of units to take that out, right? Yeah, that's kind of cool. That's very well protected. It is hard to get down there a little bit, right? So some people might be like, oh, I want to be pushing through the middle of the map. So actually, I'll take this as my fourth, right? And then you can kind of take another fifth as you're pushing up this area of the map, right? So because if your opponent's third is here, you might want to push this way. So Terrans might not, if we just get rid of some of these crosses, Terran might not even take that third. Terran might opt for this third base, say in TVZ, and just say, no, we're going to push. And that way our rally, because we're pushing through the Zerg, we're going to break these rocks, and we're going to be driving a wedge between the Zerg bases. So you can imagine a Terran player is kind of going through here, and if the Zerg's expanded that way, the Terran's going to try and drive a wedge here and get between those bases, right? And get a position here. Or if the Zerg's taken this fourth base, the Terran's going to try to get up to this ramp and branch into those two areas. So essentially, this area here, I imagine being a big push path in TVZ, right? Is coming in and there's a hedge there. So so check it out. Once you clear those rocks, you've got a sight blocker, which is really good for the Terran with the range units. It makes it awkward for the Ling Bane to engage. You've got another one there. And then you've also got, you can like put tanks on that high ground. You've got all these different ledges. Like that's going to be, at the same time, it's an area that can get flanked from every single side. And people can even flank it through accelerator zones where it like launches your Zerglings in. So there's plenty of angles to flank. As much terrain as there is to take advantage of, there's also many angles to flank and backstab, right? There's tons of paths across this map, especially as the rocks come down. If we look at the edge of the map, so we've got some destructible rocks here, and here, that can be taken down to open up the path. I imagine those rocks will almost never be taken down on this map, just because you've already got a path through the middle. Yes, it's blocked by a sight blocker, but it doesn't really seem like, how often are you fighting over that area of the map? I can't imagine those rocks get taken down too much, but hey, that doesn't mean it's bad design. Not everything needs to get used every single game. No gold minerals, no purple gas. Overall, a cool map. I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I think all maps have found a really good pattern of having multiple paths through the middle, a mixture of high ground and low ground. And, you know, areas where there will be moments where it's kind of wide open and good for a swarmy army. The charge lots, the mass charge lot, Archon, the Ling Bane. And there's other areas where if you set up around the high ground, low ground, the terrain correctly, it's really good for the tanks and the Marines and the glass cannon long range units as well. Overall, thumbs up for me. I think that map looks good. And hello fam. Let's look at the next one, shall we? So, next map is Lightshade LE. from Maris. Oh, we love Maris. She's cool. She made Death Aura as well as like she made Hidden Resort as well, I believe. She made a bunch of cool maps. Lightshade is a typical standard map with 2 third base options and 7 bases per player. How many is 7? Is 7 even that many? I never really count total bases that much. That's something that gives you an idea of how long into a macro game it goes before the map mines out. If you go up, if a map has like 10 bases per player, it's like, whoa, like it's just gonna never run out of resources. That's like a whirlwind or something, right? 7 is standard apparently. Okay. It can support a wide variety of playstyles. The destroyable debris and rocks give players a bit of security early on. Destroying them makes it easier to maneuver armies around the map. So is this it? Yeah, Lightshade. Oh, right. So Maris usually has a very specific color design to her maps. You can see she's used some nice bright green trees. Otherwise, a little bit barren. I'm going to be critical of the aesthetic on this one. Oh, I do like these. There's like little aqueducts. Or are they little highways? There's like little highways between these little biodomes and stuff around the edge. I don't know if they're aqueducts that are feeding water in to like these plant systems. Either way, I like that around the edge. She's always got, I mean, most of the map makers have some lovely detail. Once I'm actually in on the maps, I can see them, obviously, with more attention. But it looks a bit dry and deserty down here on the, you know, all cracked kind of. And then we've got like, oh, it's pavement. Yeah, it's just here's some cement and concrete, some pavement. So, aesthetic. I do like the bright green bits. Overall, a little bit bland and dark for my my taste. It's called Lightshade. Too much shade could do with some more light. Anyway, being an idiot aside, let's draw on this map. And this one we'll start to analyze a bit quicker. It's been a while since we've done one of these maps. So main base, top left to first, bottom right. If you expand along the corner, you go like that. And then you've even got a 5th on the high ground right in front. Look, that's a pretty no-brainer. That's an easy expansion pattern, right? Except, what if you choose to do it? That's obviously a natural no matter what. What if you go this way? 3rd there. So if you take your 3rd there, there is a little blocker in the middle here. But it still is pretty big path there. Pretty big path. So it's like 2 choke. And then you've got a pretty big angle from there as well where units can attack from, right? So you've got quite a few angles on that 3rd. If we compare it to this 3rd base, where it's like, it's just this angle here, right? It's just there. I think that becomes a wider angle though. If you take this 3rd, you can see that this angle becomes wider, right? Whereas with this 3rd base, they can pull back to that choke point. It's a narrower area because it doesn't become so much surface area, right? I would say this 3rd feels more natural and comfortable. It's high ground. That 3rd base there, I can also imagine like siege tanks or a siege tank or 2 on the high ground with like some elevator push that like it's so far around to actually get up there to dislodge this where you're like, wait, how do I get up there? To actually flank from the south, you got to come so far around, right? So we'll see how that goes. Now, obviously, if you did take this 3rd, you could take that 4th, which is kind of right next to it. And if you did that, you'd really be pushing your creep up for this high ground in this area. The problem is you need to take down those rocks to get to this 5th or 6th, which is so far away. I feel like no matter which direction you expand in, you're never going to keep working to that corner of the map. These corners are just a bit too exposed. They're a bit too far out, in my opinion. So I think you'd always go then for that, as this would always be a 5 base setup no matter what. And it feels like this is just more convenient rather than that corner, right? Feels like that's the natural 6th and 7th base here. Or if that's 4th and 5th, these 2 up the top are 6th and 7th. Yep. So I imagine there's going to be a lot of players just kind of expanding to their, you know, having their corners and then lots of fighting. As you expand on these maps, you naturally get more angles, right? Around the edges. Where suddenly people can harass from these angles. So that's always what's good about these maps is the more you expand, the more spread out you get, the harder it is to cover all that ground and defend everything. The more attacking gets rewarded positionally. And that always makes me quite happy. So let's look at the natural to natural rush distance. I don't think this is the best path. That feels like a bit of an awkward one. There's a destructible rock there. I don't know if that's open or not. I think that's blocked off, but it might actually have a narrow path through the middle. What did she say again? In her description, she said, the destroyable debris and rocks give a bit of security early on. Destroying them makes it easy to maneuver armies around the map. Okay. Yeah, so that's interesting. Obviously, there's rocks there on that path. There's rocks there. We got rocks there, rocks there, rocks there, rocks there. So some of these are full path blockers. These other ones are half blockers that just narrow the ramps, right, until they're taken down. There as well. But I think that's fully blocked. I'm not 100% sure. Either way, if you can go through there at the start, obviously that drastically shortens the rush distance. But it just means it's hard to force your way through that area if there are armies there. That would be a much shorter distance through the middle. Whereas if you're going around the edges, it is actually that initial path. It's either that way or something like that. You've got these very important high ground areas that if you control, you can kind of really have nice angles to them, because yeah, you've got great coverage from these high ground areas, kind of rain down death on the enemy. These corner bases, as we mentioned before, are specifically vulnerable. They, there's high ground above them and stuff. And let's talk dead space before we finish this one. It looks to me like there's a lot of dead space around the back. It's hard to tell always from these screenshots. There's definitely a lot in the corner, but it looks like there's plenty of dead space below this main. And that's interesting, because this one looks like there's tons on that side. So this could just be the screenshot, but I believe that means there should be, assuming it's mirrored correctly, dead space that you can fly along and around behind. And I'm not sure. I don't think you'd be able to do it there. I think you'd be getting clipped as you go along here. You've got a bit of dead space, but if units are on the edge and turrets, I believe they'd be able to clip you along the back line there. You've got plenty of dead space behind the natural and the third to hide a medevac with widow mines in and just sit there and wait, or a liberator. And in terms of like low ground tank pushes, because I'm obsessed with that, tanks there, not going to reach too much. They'll reach maybe one production facility. Gases, by the way, I guess that's something I forgot to point out in the previous map. Gases are protected. Every map has a pervert pillar, by the way. Nathanius was tweeting about this morning. He said, can anyone confirm? Someone sent him zoomed in screenshots. There is a pervert pillar above every natural in the new maps. Something I personally would not mind them removing. I don't mind the way it's done on Death Aura, where the pervert pillar is further out front the base, like this one, so you can see some stuff with it, but not everything. I think the pervert pillar, the high ground, just given right over the natural, is a bit silly. I do like, though, that Maris has put the gases at the back, so at least it doesn't immediately get free information on how many gases the other player has, which is important. Let's look at the previous map. Previous map, same thing. Pervert pillar, gases hidden in the back. So at least they make it a little bit harder for Zerg players to get that free map hack information that has led to Cyril winning. He's not actually good at the game. It's due to the pervert pillar. Yeah, of course. Definitely not being facetious at all, guys. And yes, that was just an excuse to say facetious. I've been planning it for the last 3 weeks. Oh, I sound smart now. I said a big word. Yes. Next map is Oxide LE. The Music 246 designed this map and says a smaller map with rocks that lengthen attack routes early game. Fast natural base to natural base timing, and map becomes high tension once those rocks are down. Well, I'm a big fan of New Zealand, guys. I do think it rocks, like that old Flight of the Conchords advertising poster. It has a lot of rocks, doesn't have much else. Few people. Let's take a look. Is this even the main? I think that's the main. It must be. Yeah, that's the main. So aesthetically, it looks like it's autumn. You can tell by the leaves on the trees. It's autumn, guys. Oh, it's called fall, Peg. It's called fall because the leaves fall off the trees. Fucking Americans. I've been super triggered because at the moment we've been playing the fall season of DreamHack Masters, guys. And I'm like, guys, in the Southern Hemisphere, for fucking most of Latin America, Australia, etc., it's not been fall, right? We're in spring. And they're like, also, if it was, it would be called autumn. And they're like, no. And we're like, do you know what hemispheres are? And they're like, you guys don't count. You're not important. So continuing to be second-class citizens down here in the Southern Hemisphere. They call the seasons wrong. It's hemispherist. It's a big problem these days, guys. You know, people just not being chill at all. So rocks are fully blocking there and there. Okay, I see. All right. Oh, is it fully blocking? Actually, I think you can go through that. So, or these are the two paws. So I believe these ones are widening. So that's just, it's widening rocks. And then obviously you've got these rocks. You've also got the rocks that are going to open up the third base choke point. I like this little pattern of grass. Look at these sight blockers. So we've got some cool sight blocker patterns in front of these potential fourth bases, where you can have some weird vision being blocked if you don't have fly units. More vision blockers. Well, the same pattern up there, of course. Very cool. Overall, though, I do like the aesthetic is a bit different. We've got snow on the ground. We've got the leaves kind of are all brown and oranges, and I guess you could say it's even wintry, right? There's not quite as many bright, rich orange and yellows. It's a little bit more I think there's enough leaves still on the trees, and they are kind of, I guess it's a bit snowy for fall, unless you're in fucking Sweden or something, you know. Anyways, big thanks Gyro Mighty for the 29 months. Once again, Jars of Fart. Much love for the cheer before as well. Overall, I think this map looks all right. Big dead space there. Once again, it's hard to tell on these maps. You need to actually get on them. It looks like you got a space to hide there. Looks like you get a bit of space along the back. Ooh, Pervert Pillar is on that side, so it's closer to there, but I believe you can spot that from the high ground. So that's an important feature, is I believe if you've got a vision there, maybe you can't quite see the back of the Pervert Pillar, but if you put a unit on there, you might be able to see, and you might be able to run a Marine down and shoot it off the pillar. Because this is the same height as that, I believe, unless they've used the new levels to make it higher. Actually, we'll find out. But these gases are still protected from the pillar, but they're very easy to scout by just sending an overlord in over here. Just have an overlord there and go, oh, okay, so these gases are very easily scoutable. Not the map to do your charge lot 2 gas all in on this one. Or if you do, you take those gases down as fakes. You go, oh, there's an overlord there. He's watching. Okay. Yeah, totally taking gas. Yeah, this is legit. I'm absolutely doing this. 100%. Yeah, once again, similar high ground, low ground dynamics. Overall, rush distance is shorter. This is more of an action-packed submarine style map in terms of how you get in front of each other's faces. And yeah, let's get rid of all these blocky lines, so we can just kind of look at the unimpeded picture of the map a bit. So fourth base, you could take this as your fourth as well, since that one is a bit hard to get down to. It's very, you know, off on its own, and you got that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bases each on this map, but those 6 bases in the middle, very hard to hold, very out there. And a giant main base, by the way. So when you see giant main bases, what do we see more of? Nidus worms. We see more doom drops in the main. Yeah, all that sort of stuff tends to get abused a little bit more when you've got a giant main base like this. The TVT doom drops will be real on this map. Got a lot of area to cover. New map pool seems good for Terran, says Sankar. Submarine stays in the pool and they get this map. Hey, potentially. I wonder what a map with a giant speed or slow bubble in the middle would be like. Protoss is in trouble with this pool, says 8-Bit Deity. Really? Bit too spread on the bases, you think? Maybe. Autumn or awesome? You know what chat knows what I'm about. All right, guys, let's take a look. I believe those are the only 3 maps, along with... oh, no, there is one more. Romanticide, which is done by Marison. Okay, this screenshot here, if even half the map looks like this, I am a bit excited. You guys know I'm into the aesthetic. Check it. Romanticide is a macro map with a slightly shorter rush distance than normal. The maze of rocks, line of sight blockers in the middle path offer a lot of positional opportunities. The mineral wall node values are at 10. All right, so let me just close green shot. No. Can we close all windows? Yeah? Can we do that? Did that get rid of me? I think I'm just gonna Exit green shot. Will that get rid of this pop-up? No, I don't want to save it. Just... Wait, get out. Can I... It still hasn't got rid of this bloody screenshot, has it? Oh, wait. Oh, it's actually highlighting on my second monitor now. Close. Ha! I think it worked. Okay, cool. Let's just take a look at this then. Sorry, that was bugging out, guys. And oh, I got to do it on my bloody Elgato. Open an image editor. I'm using my preview monitor to do that. There we go. We got it. It's annoying that it keeps thinking it wants to pop up there. Beautiful map in terms of these purple edges. Once again, a bit dry in the middle is just my opinion. But there's enough bright purple and orange crystals that I'll forgive it. They are all sparkly and shit. This seems like it's from the Netherworld or something. Super cool. Natural. No real choice over the third base. You're never going to take that low ground unless you're... Some EU Zergs might take this low ground base because this is similar to Nightshade, where some Zergs are like, no, I want to get the creep out front of this base really early, and it's like wide open, so I like this base rather than the other third, then I get a free fourth behind it. Other than European Zergs, all sane players who actually enjoy winning games and not gifting their third base to their opponents are going to take this one up here. Absolutely calling it now. A Laser will be the first person to take this third every game, guys. He'll alternate Ravager Ling all-inning off it, and or Ravager Queen, I mean, against Protoss, and then just doing a normal macro game, and it's going to work really well. And I'm going to say I continue to know nothing about StarCraft, and a Laser is a god. So those are your 4 bases. I guess you could expand down here, but you start to get very far away from your base. Now what's cool is we do have the return of mineral blockers. I'm not sure if she's mentioned how heavy. If anyone in chat knows how many, is it 5 minerals? Is it a single patch to open these? Is it 10? You can see this is just a single line of minerals. I think it's a single line of minerals. Chat says it is. Most people say 10. Vox, if you don't know, don't make stuff up. Don't make stuff up. Why would you do that? Don't be naughty. Let me go back to her right. Mineral wall node values are 10. Fox, lying. A few people like 17, 20, 20. It is a single line though, right, guys? It looks like a single line from the screenshot I got. I'm just not 100% sure. I believe it is. So we've got, basically it'll take 2 trips to open one of these up. Now on that angle, I believe you can fit anything through a single mineral patch, but I'm not sure. Remember that on Golden Wall, if you open up a single patch from your main, you can't fit Ravagers through it because of the angle of those minerals. Let me show you guys exactly what I'm talking about here, all right? So Golden Wall SC2, just gonna real quickly bring this up. So on this map, if you open these middle mineral patches up, because they're horizontal and they're spaced a bit more, you open one of those up, Ravagers, tanks, Archons can fit through. But in the main base, they're on this awkward diagonal, and they're a bit more cramped. You open one of those up, none of those big units can get in or out of the base. You need to open up a 2 mineral patch wide space. Looking at this map, my first impression would say, I think you only need 1, but it is a diagonal. So we'll have to test that out. Be wary. If you open up 1 patch, try to get a Ravager, an Archon, a Thor, a tank, any of those 2 space-sized units that need a double space to squeeze through. See if you can get it through, test it out, or you will be in trouble. So, yeah, that 2 trips to open it up. If you take this third, you want to make sure your opponent doesn't sneak some workers over and open that, or, you know, drop a mule. Terran has the most accessible way of doing it. They can just drop a mule and be like, lol, and stim in. Because once that's open, you've got a very wide, I mean, you've already got a wide path there, but it's kind of inaccessible in one direction. If they come down here, they can't just rotate back to that angle, right? They're committed to this path. Maybe they can pick up if they've got medevacs or something and drop there, but it's a one-directional push. So pushing down this angle is very unattractive. Normally as a player, if you go in, there's a good position. So say you're coming here, you've taken these minerals down, you're like, oh, the position's too good. You can rotate, like you can create threat. If they've taken that base, you can kind of bounce between 2 different angles, right? You can threaten there, you can threaten here at the same time. So taking those minerals down or maintaining them as the defending player is going to be very important. And I do think we are going to see 4th and then probably 5th base up here as a very common expansion pattern, right? And what's interesting is we've got these little like wooden bridges, which is a cool aesthetic to it. They look like they're wooden. So there's kind of just natural choke points. I don't think there's any special feature to them or anything. Don't think she said anything like that, right? She said slightly shorter rush distance. There's a maze of rocks and line of sight blockers in the middle, offer positional advantages. So nothing too crazy. She's just like, hey, this middle area is a bit nuts to go into. So you got sight blocker, sight blocker, sight blocker, sight blocker. You got rocks, you got rocks, you got rocks, you got rocks, you got rocks. Oh, I think that's minerals as well. I didn't notice that before, guys. So it looks like there is also 10 mineral value minerals there and there that can be opened up. And as always, Maris, she loves to use the purple gas on the exposed base. So if you guys want to take what we call the YOLO base, you get a single rich gas geyser on these middle ones. It's not quite as insane as her double rich gas death aura bases, but also a little bit more defensible than those, I would argue. Yeah. So let's look rush distance. Keep in mind that you get blocked by the minerals. Unless you take that down. There, blocked. So you actually have to go through... Sorry, you can go through those. Let's get rid of those so we can actually see what we're going through. That's the path. So it's a bit of a shorter rush distance, but it's through a bit of a wild maze. Let's remember there's no ramp on the natural. No ramp there, giving you high ground advantage. So it's not safe like Pillars of Gold, where you can just stand Marines on top and deflect Stalkers. So as a Terran, you're going to have to build a bunker a lot. It's also a very wide open natural. There's so much space around. So like little prism pressures going in and out and stuff. There's lots of room to cover. And same in this main base. Look how much room there is in this area of the main. So when you take into account how much space there is back here and down here, this is going to be aggression, harassment, and drop city. Players who have more mobile armies are going to be able to dance around. That being said, more ground space means even though there's some dead space to get in here, and there's a bit to hide there. Oh, there's plenty back behind the natural, actually. Yeah, it's going to be pretty good for mutas and air units hanging around the back. Obviously, I think you can't really move through there or there without getting blasted if they're on the edges. But it's going to be hard to like turret up this main, right? Because you'll need to have like turret there, like to stop their prism, right? And then you have to like turret there. And I think you can totally bypass that one without getting shot, which means it could run past that turret, get in the back on red hit points, which means you'd need to leave a Marine down here as well to actually finish the red hit point warp prism. Big main base, lots of aggressive reward, I think. That's going to be a fascinating map to play out. And as I said, we talked about the most direct route. So obviously that's going to change. If you take these down, you can also be like, you can go through that way or you can go through this way. If you take these rocks down, it's like just straight to each other's natural, right? It becomes a bit more wide open. These corners of the map are going to turn into very interesting areas if the game gets there. But sometimes I think there's going to be a lot of action just around the middle and then around these harassment angles in the backs. Doom Drop City and TBT for sure. It's going to be really interesting to see how this one goes down. So we've got the last few maps. We've got Polka, Reality Simulations for 2v2, and Tunola for 4v4. We'll take just a cursory glance. Oh my god, welcome to the swamps. Holy crap. It's all green and shit. You literally take one step onto this and I'm pretty sure you've got spores in your lungs and fungal infections in your feet. This is, oof, looks pretty cool. I like it. Looks kind of nice, green and swampy, almost looks kind of foggy, just this green color to it. You've got some ruins here and stuff. Overall, looks pretty cool. No real analysis on these maps. I don't really care to analyze the 2v2 and 4v4 maps, but you guys can go check them out more. We got slow zones on this one. Oh, wow. This one looks almost like it's water on the low ground, right? The blue color? It almost looks like it's like you go down into the water. Maybe it is all shallow water, in fact. That's cool. This is post ocean levels rising. This is some Civ 6, guys, we use too many coal power plants for too many generations map. Looks cool though. I like it. I like it. Different, you got water, you got trees on the edges, and looks pretty nice, all things considered. Tenala, the 4v4 map. Yeah, I mean, nothing to me shouts awesome. Like, you've got some yellow misty fog on the outside, and the inside of the map is basically all dark and barren and wastelandish with a few chaos towers on it and some fucking tiles, which are grubby. I like it. There's some grubby tiles, and there's, yeah, I think there's some, it's generally, it looks looks like a place Chaos Space Marines would be very happy. It does actually, it does have an aesthetic to it. It does look, I can imagine a lot of Chaos Space Marines hanging out on here. You know, the great unclean ones running around fucking with little gremlins and shit. It looks like a decent demonic sort of place. Shout out to the map maker for this one, who is no doubt a Satanist. And it is Maris. Yeah, she's probably into the demons and shit. People are like, it's a war zone after all. Guys, I don't care if it's a war zone. You're like, well, obviously, like, do that. I'm like, no, I want to lay waste. I want to lay waste to green, beautiful maps. There is nothing that makes me happier than when my Hellion...
False Emperor.
Death to the False Emperor. Thank you. There's nothing that makes me happier than when my Hellion Splash accidentally sets a beautiful, vibrant palm tree on fire and it burns to a crisp. I want more of that on my maps. On this map, there's nothing to accidentally kill with splash damage. You know, you're like, you find a critter on this map and it's like dung beetle, and you're like, oh, okay. Anyways, overall, the maps look pretty good, guys. I'm excited. I'm impressed. Submarine, Death Aura, and Pillars of Gold have stayed in the pool. That means we are seeing the death of Eternal Empire, our massive macro map. We are seeing the death of, I don't know, what are the other maps, Pig? I have no idea. Let's take a look. Ice and Chrome, massive macro map gone. Eternal Empire gone. Everdream, Eterno Sueno is finally gone. And wait, does that mean Golden Wall is still gone? Golden Wall's gone as well. The death of Golden Wall is here. Oh no! Hot diddly damn. Well, that's going to be fun to see. So yeah, guys, season goes live at the start of next month. It's going to be awesome. Check out the new maps. As always, I don't have any hard opinions. I think the maps, for me, I look at them and I go, these are all rather flexible, dynamic. There's nothing too excited. My one wish list would be push those Pervert Pillars further away from the bases like Death Aura. I think Death Aura did a great job on it. I don't think anyone was like, oh, it's so unfair for Zerg on Death Aura. The Overlord just can't see. No one thought that. I think it's fine. So I'd like to see more of that in future map pools. Map makers, make it happen. Blizzard, please select those maps and encourage less Pervert Pillars seeing everything. What else would I say about these maps? I think that's about it. I think there's some good map design. Some people are criticizing the map, saying they're not taking enough risks, that they want more golden walls. Some people are saying, number one, more golden wall. They want to see more wild maps. They want to see more creative maps. They want to see more of this stuff. And they feel these maps are all too the same. I keep pointing out how the middle of the maps, it's always a high ground, low ground dynamic alternating. You've got platforms with low ground, and then you've got some blocking paths and sight blockers in the middle. And people are like, oh, it's just the same thing over and over. And I'm like, no, there are slight differences on every single one. StarCraft is such a complicated game. I don't think you need every map to reinvent the wheel. That being said, I do want to see more golden walls. It doesn't have to be asymmetric necessarily, but it does have to just have, like, that had such a wide... We got to see so many cool games on Golden Wall. So I want to see always a map like Golden Wall that takes a lot of risks in each map pool. They're not always going to hit. They will always get people angry. They will get vetoed a lot. But we've seen so many fun games on Golden Wall. So map makers, please keep taking risks. I know it's hard because it doesn't get rewarded as much as other maps. But same for Blizzard and TL and TLMC and people voting for the maps. Get on it and please choose the maps that take risks in a good way as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoyed this very lengthy and analytical breakdown, I hope it wasn't too longsome and arduous for you all. But yeah, thanks for watching. Please support the Patreon if you can go above and beyond. Even just $1 a month makes a big diff. Info's in the description. Otherwise, click like, subscribe. And if you want my videos to actually go, hey, Pig has a new video, and like pop up on your phone and on the top of your feed and everything, ring the bell. If you don't, and you already see too much of my face, don't. But yeah, if you're wondering where my videos go, yeah, ring that bell. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Enjoy the new season, guys. Good night.